Alright, so now I'm about to show you a Lightroom workflow. I primarily do not use Lightroom as my editor, but I'll show you a similar workflow to what I do in Capture One in Lightroom. So let's head over to Lightroom. Alright, so now that we're in Lightroom, you can see that we're over here in the Library tab. I have already imported the images just for the sake of time, but I'm going to show you what you would do whenever you are about to import images into Lightroom. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to the hard drive wherever you want to store the images. So in my case, we got the 2022 September, and then this master folder here is what I did for Capture One. So this would be the one that I would do for Lightroom, because Lightroom isn't going to create all the folders for you the same way that Capture One did. And as you can see here, I have already created folders within my file structure. So as you can see, I just renamed this one Lightroom Masterclass. Click on here. This is where the raw files are loaded. This folder is where my proofs would go, and then the images, the final images that need to get retouched will go into the retouch folder. So go ahead. So we're going to head back over to Lightroom and we'll click on import. So by default, Lightroom is automatically going to select the SD card that you have inserted into the computer. But if you want to import images that are not on the SD card, you will just find the file location from these drop-down menus over here. So as you can see, I got the internal hard drive, and then I have these external hard drives that I have selected. So if I wanted to import images from a folder on this hard drive, I would just click this drop-down, and then I would locate the images from here. So for example, if I wanted to go here, I would select this folder, and now it's going to pull up all the raw images from here. But for the sake of the tutorial, we're going to go back to this EOS Digital. That's the SD card, and select DCIM, and it'll select all of these. But at this point, I have already imported all of these, so that's why the check boxes isn't showing up for these. But in your case, you should have a checkbox for all of these images. So you would just go ahead and select all of the raw files. Make sure you aren't selecting JPEGs and raw files, or you're going to have duplicates of each photo. So after you selected all your raw files from this import section, one thing you want to do is go over here to this metadata tab for the apply during import. And for here, you want to click on this drop down and create a new preset for your metadata. And in here, the main things I would check is the IPTC copyright and then the creator. So you will fill these out, and it will automatically import this metadata onto your files whenever you import them. So for the copyright, you'll hit Option or Alt G to get the copyright signal, then your name. For the copyright status, you'll do copyrighted, and rights usage term, just put all rights reserved. And then you can put your website URL here. Then you will fill all of this out that you want to include within your metadata. But if you don't want certain things, you just go over here and uncheck those that you do not want. I probably wouldn't put my address. You can put your city if you want, your email address and your phone number and your website. I wouldn't do job title. So I would just fill all of these out. And then from there, you're going to hit create. And as you can see, I have this untitled preset that's now over here that's going to apply during import. So once you set this up once, it's going to always apply those settings to everything that you import. So after we create your metadata preset, the next thing you're going to want to do is select your file location. So as you can see right now, by default, it's going to my Macintosh HD and my pictures folder, and it's created these folders. That is not where I want it to go, so I will go to my Aaron Christopher hard drive, 2022 September, and then I have already created this folder. But the folder that you create is where you would select. So you will open this, go to raw, and then that's where we will import these images to, and click import. Alright, so after you're done importing your images, you'll be at a screen similar to something like this. So from here, we're going to go up to the develop tab. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to want to do is go through and rate our images. So just like we did in Capture One, we'll go through and cull through the images, only selecting the images that we want to send to the client for preview. As you can see, I have already went through and rated some of these 1 star. So I'm not going to go through and cull through all these images, but that is what you would do at this point. So after you go through and cull through all of your images and select the ones that you want to send to your client for review, we are going to export our proofs. So the best way to do that is we're going to go down here to this filter and we're going to go to rated, and then we're going to select the 1 star. So now it's showing us all of the 1-star images. We're going to select one, press Command or Control A to select all the images, and we're going to go up here to File and Export. So for this, I typically just export my images to my desktop, and then I will drag them to the folder that I created on my hard drive. So right now we're going to make a preset for our proof images the same way we did in Capture One, but we're just going to do it for Lightroom. So the first thing we do is the export location. We're just going to put it on the desktop, and we're going to put it in this subfolder, and we're going to call this folder Proofs. After that, we're going to leave the file naming alone. We're not going to mess with video. And then for the file setting, we're going to leave it at JPEG. For the image sizing, we're going to resize it to fit 1000 by 1000 width and height. And we're going to do 72 ppi, so pixels per inch. And we're not going to mess with the output sharpening. We're going to leave the metadata the same. And the watermarking, we are going to check this watermark. So as you can see here, I have created a watermarking preset, but for the sake of the tutorial, we're going to create a new one. So we're going to go down here to edit watermarks. Alright, so we're about to edit this watermark. So as you can see, it's down here small at the bottom in the left hand corner. We're going to scroll down and we're going to anchor that to the center, and we're going to choose this fit option here so it makes it fit within the entire frame. For the watermark opacity, I typically do around 50%. That way they can still kind of see through the watermark if they need to see something, if the watermark is covering like an important part of the image. So I would do something like that. So here you can select your font if you do have a specific font that you use for your logo. But if you want to use an image as your watermark, you would just come over here to image options, and then you would click choose, and then from here you would locate your PNG logo on your computer. Select it and then hit choose, and then your image will be displayed here. And then from there you can go through and adjust these settings for your image the same way we just did for the text. You can change the opacity, the location of it if you want to anchor it somewhere else, and also the size. So from there we're going to click save. We're going to name this, and then we'll hit create. So after you name your watermark preset, what you're going to do is come down here to add to create a export preset, and we're going to call this export proofs, and then we're going to hit create. So now we have this export proofs option here. To export these images, we'll hit batch export, select the parent folder, desktop, choose, and export. So now that we have exported these proofs, we're going to take these and upload these to Pixieset to get ready to send, just how we did over in Capture One. So go over to Pixieset. I'm already signed in, but you'll just hit sign up. And once you sign up, it's going to ask for your business name, website, stuff like that. Super simple. But after you're signed up, you're going to be at this screen. So we're going to go to Manage Collections. This is my first time on this one because I just created this account. So I'm gonna go ahead and create my own. I'm gonna name it Masterclass. All right, Masterclass, you can pick a date. I'm just not for the sake of this. And next, let me just go ahead and skip through all this. You can definitely read all this. I already know it because I used the platform already. So now that you're here, you're gonna hit add photos. So I go to proofs, click that, and then, oh, my bad. Proofs, click that, and then I just drag them over here, and then it's gonna upload them. So that's pretty much what this process will look like. Let you see what this looks like. That'll go ahead and get done. And then we'll use this as a cover image. So, all right, so that's done. We'll go here, go click on settings, download. I turn it off for the proofs. I'm gonna change this cover. So that is currently the cover photo. So we're gonna change that. I'm gonna just click that, drag this picture over here. All right, and now you can see this is the cover for the gallery that we would send to the client. I'm gonna change the focal length so that on the computer, it'll show more of her face. There we go, boom. So this is what the gallery will look like. And from there, I would just typically hit publish. I'm gonna cut the store off for the sake of this only being proofs. Hit publish, and now this gallery is active. All right, so from here you can email this gallery directly to your clients from here if you want to. So you know what, I'm gonna email it to myself. Then you can put your message here. I don't know, I'm gonna just put hello. You could also do email templates to where it's going to have a template that you can just automatically click instead of having to type everything every time. So this is what the process looked like. I would send the invite. All right, so now this is sent off to the clients. I am the client, so I am going to pull it up on my end and go ahead and like some images real quick. All right, so this is what it will look like on the client's end. This is the gallery they get to go through and like their images, as you can see. So this is what it looks like from the client's point of view. So I'm gonna just go on here, I'm gonna just like some images. And as you can see here, I have to put in an email address because that is going to, oh, hold on, my bad. All right, so from here, I'm gonna just go ahead and start liking images. So I created a favorites list. This is what it'll look like on your end. Well, my bad, this is what it looks like on the client end. I'm gonna go back and show you what it looks like on your end after they go through and like their favorite images. All right, so now that the client have selected their favorite images, we're just gonna come back over to Pixieset. We're gonna go over here to our notifications, and then you see we have a new favorites list created. So we click on that, then we're gonna go to the favorites, and from here we're gonna click the three dots and hit Lightroom copy list. So from there we'll select that, copy it. From there we're gonna come back over to Lightroom. We're gonna go to the library tab, go up here to library and click find. And you wanna make sure that this is, we change this from contains all to contains. Then we'll click, then we'll copy and paste that list into here. Once we got the list copied in here, we're just gonna click one image, hit Command A, and then we'll rate all of these, let's say 3 stars. So now, if we go back here, exit out of that, hit develop, come down here to our filter setting and click 3 stars. You'll now see that we have all of our images selected that the client picked for their favorites. So as you can see, I have already went through and edited some of these, but I'm gonna just kind of re-edit. I'm gonna re-edit this one just to show you kind of the workflow that I had with editing this. So I'm gonna hit reset. So this is my starting point. I'll use this as my reference image. So as you know, I typically edit one image, then I copy and paste those settings throughout the session for all images that look similar to the image. So for this, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna adjust my white balance a little bit. After I adjust my white balance, I'm gonna just increase my saturation a little bit. And also my vibrance. That'll get us somewhere like that. I'm gonna go to my tone curves, and once again, I'm gonna only make sure I'm affecting the luma and not the full RGB. I'm gonna raise my mid-tones a little bit. So something like that, I'm gonna bring up my shadows a tad, so something like that for my shadows. I'm gonna drop my black point down just a little bit. So for this image, I'm not gonna mess with my HSL slider, so that's the hue, saturation, and luminance. So as you can see, the hue just determines the hue of each color. The saturation is the saturation of each color, and then the luminance is how dark or bright each color is within the image. So I'm not gonna mess with those for this image, but If you were editing like an outdoor portrait or something, you could mess around with these to change the sky color, the leaves colors, or any other colors of anything else that's in the image. I'm not going to really do any color grading either. So as you can see here, if you wanted to, you can introduce colors into the mid-tones or whatnot. But I'm not going to mess with any of that. I typically don't mess with any of that. So I'm going to leave that alone. I typically don't sharpen my images either because these new cameras are pretty sharp straight out of the camera. So I typically don't adjust any of that. And I will adjust noise reduction if it's like a low light, high ISO situation. But in this case, that is not the case. So I'm not going to mess with the noise reduction. So as you can see, we can do a little before and after comparison. You can see this is the before and this is the after. So it's a super subtle difference. Like, I don't do too much to my images. Like I said, the main thing that you want to do is get it as close to the way you want it in camera, so you don't have to do a ton of editing to get it the way that you want it. So from here, the next thing I do is, so I'll go over here to my masking options, and then I'll select this radial gradient. So I'm going to select and make this circle, kind of put it over the face. But as you can see, I need to invert this because it's only going to affect the stuff that's in red. And I don't want to affect her face. I want to leave her face the same, but affect everything else that's around it. So we'll come over here. We'll click invert. And now we can adjust things that are on the outside and not her face. So as you can see, the background is getting darker and it's creating more of that, I guess, kind of like a vignette effect, but it's only affecting the background, making her pop out a little bit more. And for this, I typically do like a half a stop is about the furthest I would typically go. But if you feather it more, you can do more. It's just a matter. So as you can see, the less feathering, the harder the circle is. The more feathering, the softer the circle transition from dark to light. So something like that is what I would typically go with. So that is how I would do that. So I'm gonna just drop that a tad bit more, or no, I'm gonna leave it about somewhere like that. Then we'll come back to our adjustments. I'm gonna add a little contrast in there, and we'll leave it at something like that. So you got the before image and then the after image. So that's where we got with these two. So from here, what I would do is I would right click this image, go to develop settings and hit copy settings. Then I would pick or select all these things that I want to copy, which for this, I'll just leave it at this. If you do any spot removals or something like that, don't select that because it will do that on the next images in the same exact spot. So if it's not the same image, it's going to spot remove something that probably don't need to be spot removed. So you'll hit copy. All right, so then we'll just go to another image and we'll just hit right click, develop settings, and then we're going to paste these settings. Then you can see the before and the after. So when we did go through selecting the settings that we wanted to copy, we did not copy the masking section. So we're going to click the masking again, and then we're going to select this radial tool, the radial gradient. I'm going to select that gradient, put it kind of over the face, similar to this, kind of rotate it accordingly. Like, you don't want it to seem as if it's going this way when her face is clearly this way. So kind of adjust your rotation according to the way the light should be falling. So this is a good way that the light should be falling. So we'll do that, come back over here, invert, and then we'll just drop the exposure on the outside. So it's gonna kind of brighten up her face more. So something like that is what we would go for. Kind of rotate it a little bit, something like that. And then we got the before and the after. So something like that. So the last thing I might do if I was editing an image is I might crop it. So as you can see, we got this crop tool here. And if you want to go for like an Instagram aspect ratio, you would just click this, come down, select 4:5, and then you will adjust it accordingly. So that way you can get the most coverage on Instagram. So something like this is what I would typically do. So yeah, I will crop it something like that, make it fit Instagram, And then you can do that for every image if you want to, if you know that Instagram is going to be the main spot that this image will be housed on, or the main platform, I guess you could say. So you can just kind of crop accordingly. So we'll just do that. So after we do that, now we're ready to export these into some high quality JPEGs that we can take over to Photoshop for retouching. Alright, so now that we got some images selected, what we're going to do is come back up here to File, we're going to hit Export, and now I'm going to show you how to create a high quality JPEG preset that you can just always use whenever you're exporting for your final edits. So we're going to leave all this the same. We're going to change this subfolder to Retouch. We'll leave this folder right here as the desktop. We'll scroll down. We want the JPEG quality to be 100 sRGB, and if you want to limit the file size for storage reasons, you can, but for this I am not. The main thing we want to do is uncheck this resize to fit option, and we're going to change our resolution to 300. And then we're just going to remove this watermark and go down here to add, and we're going to name this full res export. You can name it whatever you want. Hit create, and now we got a full res export option over here. We select that, batch export, select our desktop as the parent folder, choose, and then export. So that is pretty much my Capture One workflow in Lightroom. So now that we have exported these images, now we're going to head over to Photoshop and finish up with the retouching. Let's go.